when we talk about winter management, winter can be very harsh on our horses, number one. And I think one of the things that we need to keep in mind is that each horse is an individual in itself. In other words, there's really no precise feeding program that covers every horse that's out there.
Absolutely.
It's an individual thing. And when we talk about some things that we need to do to help, if you want to call it, winterize our horse, then it's an individual thing there as well. And I think one of the most important things that we need to take a look at in for each of our horses, and that is body condition score.
Absolutely.
And body condition score is a method of us describing how nutritionally sound our horse is, in other words, or how unsound the horse may be, both ways, okay? And when we talk about body condition score, this is going to range anywhere from 1 up to 9, okay? We have two examples here. The white horse on the left, we would classify it as about a body condition score 3. And then the other horse, the dark horse, would fall into about the 9 category. So we have two extremes here. And our goal is to be somewhere around a body condition score of a 5 or 6. We should have a horse that's going to depict about a body condition score of a 5 plus, maybe 6. Something along that line. And that's what we're shooting for.
Absolutely.
This is a good, healthy weight there. The horse is physically fit. The horse can compete. It can do whatever we want the horse to do. That horse on the right, the dark horse, is extremely overweight. And that's working against the health of the horse.
Absolutely.
It's just like us as humans. If we're overweight, then we're subject to all type of problems. The horse is the same way. Metabolic issues, number 1. Number 2, laminitis in founder. And then, you know, that horse is, when we talk about metabolic, the horse could have a sugar problem, insulin resistant. We could have a problem with Cushing's. The horse having to carry this extra weight that works on the hooves of the horse, number 1, which a lot of times is going to cause cracking and chipping, and then that just sets us up for all other types of issues to take place within the hoof capsule itself. And of course, carrying this excess weight works on the joint of the horse.
Absolutely.
Okay? And at some point in time, we're going to have excessive wear, excessive tear, and then that at some point turns into an arthritic problem.
Absolutely.
And then we've had to deal with that issue as well. So we're going to feed these horses totally different. They're individuals in itself. That dark horse that we're looking at doesn't need calories, but it needs nutrients. We need to ensure that the daily nutrient requirement of that horse is being met. And we're going to provide that dark horse with the basic diet of the horse as well.
Absolutely.
And that's always been grass, it's always been forage, or a combination of forage and hay. And then we're going to incorporate a forage balancer into the diet of that dark horse. And one of the products that we offer here at Life Data Labs, Corbin, is the one that we have here in the middle. And it's referred to, or we call that, barn bag. And basically it's simply a complete vitamin mineral supplement. And it's going to complement, it's going to ensure that we're feeding or providing that dark horse with what it needs daily nutritionally.
Absolutely.
And we're going to ensure that that horse has plenty of fresh water along with some salt.
Absolutely.
And that becomes the diet of that horse.
Absolutely.
Now, if we go back to the white horse, we can use the same feeding program. We can still use barn bag. We can still provide that horse with whatever forage or hay that horse can consume safely, but that horse needs calories. energy, okay? And one of the safest grains that we can feed any horse today is simply whole oats. And that's going to provide the calories and the energy that that horse is going to need. And if we have an extremely hard keeper, then we can take it another step forward beyond that, and we can add some form of oil to the diet. And oil is strictly calorie rich in itself, okay? And so that's going to give that horse another boost as well. So in preparing these two different horses here, that white horse, if we could start well in advance, way back late summer, trying to increase the body condition score by adding the calories at that point in time, then that horse would be in a better situation to go through winter.
Absolutely.
So in other words, what we're doing, we're trying to get enough condition on the horse so it has enough insulation so that it's not going to suffer during the extreme cold weather itself.
And a lot of times, can't we assume we're going to see that horse, lose some weight during those colder months as well, right?
That's right.
So if it is at a 1, the last thing you want is for it to go backwards.
That's right. We don't want the horse to back up. So on those hard keepers, if we can prepare well in advance of winter and at least increase their body condition score at least by 1, if not 2, before we hit winter, then the horse is much better off at that point in time.
Now, Mike, I might be jumping ahead.
Okay.
But just to ask real quick,
sure.
while it's on my mind. So we talked about adding calories.
Right.
Why would we not want to add those complete feeds that have the nutrients and the feed tied together?
Well, that's a very good question, and the reason is this, and you actually answered the question itself, because the nutrients and the calories are tied together and we can't separate those. Say, for instance, the white horse, the thin horse there. To do that, we would actually need to feed more than what's recommended on the bag to supply that horse with the additional calories. And when we do that, we are supplying the additional calories, but we're over supplementing the horse from a nutrient standpoint when we do that. If you take the overweight horse, the dark horse that we took a look at, if we do the same thing, in other words, we would want to cut what's recommended to be fed on a daily basis. And yes, we do reduce the amount of calories, but we've also reduced the amount of nutrition or nutrients that the horse needs daily. And so we're not meeting the daily nutrient requirement of that horse.
Absolutely.
And at some point, one of the first things that's going to suffer and where it's going to show up is going to be the foot of the horse itself.
Absolutely.
Okay?
Absolutely.
And one other point while we're talking about this as well, it is a great time during the winter months if we have these overweight horses. That is, if we have a horse that has a body condition score of anywhere from 7 to 9, it's a prime opportunity to try to pull off some of the excess weight before spring gets here and those horses are back out on that green, lush, sugar-filled forage.
Absolutely.
Okay? Prime time.
Absolutely.
Okay? And the point is this, that the basic diet of the horse has always been grass, it's always been hay. And then from that, we can add a forage balancer to make sure the daily nutrient requirement is being met at that point in time. Okay? And of course, during the winter months, a horse, one of the first things it's going to do is, as far as the calories or the energy that's being provided to the horse, it's going to use that to maintain body warmth or body temperature. Now, you might ask, is there anything in specific that we can feed the horse that's going to help the horse maintain its core body temperature? And the answer to that question is yes, there is. And we go back to the basic diet once again, and one of the things that we can add to the diet of the horse to aid the horse in maintaining body temperature is forage. It's hay. And that hay, through fermentation, is being digested in the hindgut or in the cecum itself, and through this process it creates heat, and this heat will help maintain the core body temperature of the horse itself.